You want to watch something that will just make you smile? That's what I have for you. A friend of the show, Don Lemon, spoke to a 100-year-old Kamala Harris supporter. And a few things are sweet from this. It ends in this Harris supporter pointing to Trump's cognitive decline, which I got to tell you, when it takes a 100-year-old individual to tell you that you have cognitive decline, you're in a rough spot. I'll just put it that way. Please do click that subscribe button if you haven't already, as we're racing towards quite the big achievement because of all of you, that 1 million subscribers. Here is the clip.
I like this. Think she's gonna win?
I was just saying that I would die if she didn't. She's 100.
Nice.
You believe that?
You're what?
She's 100.
Wait. Oh my! Are you kidding me?
She's almost 101 in 3 months.
What's the secret?
I won't tell you.
What's your name?
Anne, what do you do?
I'm a journalist. I like this. Think she's gonna win?
I was just saying that I would die if she didn't. I was very depressed before she came on the scene, and then my spirits lifted, but I'm not sure. Maybe because he's cracking up. Trump is cracking up. Yeah.
We said the same thing. Have you heard like the crazy? Have you seen the crazy?
Yes, I nearly freaked out. Now he's really falling apart.
Yeah. And nice to meet you.
Good job.
Yeah.
That's delightful. And you made my day. Wow. So one reason that Trump is not someone we should elect as president is because of that. He does seem to be, as she said, cracking up. I never heard it explained that way, but going a little crazy. And then sometimes you're thinking, is he confused on this or just has terrible values on this? I think this clip is an example of the terrible values.
People say that. A lot of people say this will be our last election. You know, you've heard that too.
I listen for
It's so bad what they're doing to our country on the borders. It's so bad what they're doing with the money, the billions and billions of dollars. I think Zelensky's one of the greatest salesmen I've ever seen. Every time he comes in, we give him $100 billion.
Every time he comes to the United States, he does not get $100 billion.
Who else got that kind of money in history? There's never been. And that doesn't mean I don't want to help him, because I feel very badly for those people. But he should never have let that war start. That war's a loser.
Think about looking at Russia's invasion of Ukraine and going, gosh, that Zelensky's just the best salesman ever. I think he would trade Trump. I know he would trade any money that has been invested, often in U.S. companies, and then we're giving old equipment to Ukraine. But any money that was dedicated to Ukraine's defense of themselves, I'm sure he would give away all of that to have just not had this invasion happen in the first place. But Trump sees people Zelensky knows undoubtedly being killed, civilians being killed, cities being devastated because Putin is so hungry for more power and territory. And he goes, gosh, Zelensky's such a good salesman because he gets U.S. aid. How twisted. And then he says Zelensky should have never let the war start. What? Because Trump just sees an invasion and goes, well, Russia seems more powerful, so just give them the land they want. Not understanding, of course, the violation of sovereignty that would be, the lives that would be upended, but also the global instability that would cause. When you don't assert the rule of sovereignty, when you don't say, no, we're going to give a lot of aid to Ukraine so that Russia learns they can't keep doing this as they've done over the last few decades so many times. If you don't do that, you get the opposite of peace for much longer. And Trump Maybe because he's cracking, as Sue said, maybe because he's going crazy, or because he just has horrible principles. He sees all of that and thinks Zelensky should have really not started that. How about Putin? That never leaves his mouth, ever. It's demented. Then, moving forward, some miscellaneous things. Jessica Tarlov, the liberal on Fox News' The Five, made a really important point about Trump when Trump got confronted about January 6th during the recent Univision town hall.
He calls January 6th now a day of love. We have moved from, we should move on from January 6th to this was a day of love. And what I found perhaps the most interesting was that he kept saying we to encompass him and the insurrectionists. So now he's on that team.
They're not insurrectionists.
The tourists. The tourists with zip ties. He says we, and he's now called them hostages, which is a very strange...
Keep playing the Jan 6 card.
Okay, I will. But this came from someone who had supported him. This isn't about Jessica Tarlov hates Donald Trump.
I noticed that as well. He got asked about January 6th, and he kept saying, we weren't violent. We didn't do this. We just went over to the Capitol. And he was grouping the people who violently attacked the Capitol in with himself, which is correct. Y'all are in a certain category together. There is culpability to go around there. But really, really notable usage of that term we. Because he, as Tarlov just documented there, he has shifted how he talks about this. Initially, he pretended to be apologetic, sort of. We love you, but you need to leave. And the next day, he went, okay, fine, I guess we'll do peaceful transfer of power now. He understood the political damaging nature of what had happened. Family members, Fox hosts, etc. were texting him call them off. Oh my gosh, you're ruining your legacy. You are, because they knew he had culpability. And now they all deny it. And then he shifted his rhetoric to, it was a bad day, but they're treating certain people who were there too aggressively legally. They're locking them up for too long. Then it shifted to, those are hostages. Then it shifted to, they're patriots. Then it shifted to, we are a part of the same patriotic group of people who, again, yes, did the violence. But remember what it stood for, what it was about. It was the culmination of weeks of Trump lying about our democracy and weeks of him trying to figure out ways, all these different schemes to prevent Biden from coming into office. One of the greatest crimes against our democracy that we've ever seen. And so, of course, Greg Gutfeld and Fox hosts try to gaslight people into believing that it's not that significant. And, oh my gosh, you're so dramatic. You just can't get off one day. What about the 2020 Summer of Love? What about that? Because they don't want to critically engage with the foundational issues with what Trump was trying to do. Then, on the subject of crime, Tarlov said this.
That hideous gift of the Real Clear Politics average in the battlegrounds, though.
Frame it.
Okay, so time to play my favorite game. You cherry picked. Okay, so what you didn't mention is that there was a downward revision in the level of violent crime in 2021 that was actually a bigger ratio than the upward revision in 2022. And 2021 and 2023 are actually lowest crime rates, violent crime rates that we've seen in decades.
Right.
I would also note that the homicide rate, which is pretty important, right? People getting murdered, that's unambiguously down, and you can check CDC stats against that as well. So David Muir has no apologies to give about
yes,
this.
He does. Because
he doesn't.
No, because
but
still the underlying issue of the FBI
down.
stats is that they didn't include major cities. Yes, it is.
No, they keep lying about this. There was a revision to 2022. They're always revising as they get more data, making sure all of our crime stats are correct. And it was an adjustment to Jessica Tarlov's point of insignificance given the broader trend and the more recent numbers. You're talking about 2022. I don't even remember touting 2022 numbers. My big excitement came in 2023 because things, as we got further over the pandemic and some of these policies had time to be implemented and the broader trends continued, we really saw things settle into a great place based on historical comparisons. And then 2024, it looks like we're rapidly seeing decreases in crime again. So Fox now going, well, in 2022, actually, instead of a slight decrease, it was a slight increase, and nothing matters. None of the other gargantuous decreases matter to us anymore. It's so dishonest. It drives me crazy. I don't know why this topic of crime. I guess it's because it's one of the big issues, right? You got your economy, crime, healthcare, these days border. But they never do any stories about the gargantuous decreases, the plummets in crime. And they get so hyped. And then they make false claims like none of the big cities were counted, trying to assert that about 2023 when that's just not at all correct. At all. You're just pulling that out of your rear end. Stop throwing things at me from your rear end, Greg. Ugh. Jesse Waters said this.
Right. Also, great rebranding by Trump. Day of Love.
Yeah.
I just think you got to give him credit for
You
that.
guys are-
just for the attempt.
You're going with Day of Love?
Yeah, it's like your summer of love in 2020
Jessica.
when they burnt down the city.
Right.
Janine. I'm not even going to do it. I don't have the energy. We've done it so many times. Oh, wait, I'm feeling myself. I'm about to do it again. Comparing riots, which are bad. Janine, you see this? You see how consistent some people can be, unlike you? Bad riots. In 2020, whether related to BLM protests or anything else, riots, bad. Don't break the law. And then, Janine, can you also address how riots that have happened over the course of human history, many times, bad still, are of a different category than a president lying about an election causing a riot that was intended to prevent a certification of the election? That's why they chose to storm the Capitol at that particular time, was because that's what was going on. That's why they wanted to hang Mike Pence after he didn't interfere with our electoral process. Do you get how one pertains to a foundational principle with our democracy, and the other is one that should be something people get held accountable for? Law enforcement should be able to prevent people from doing a bunch of damage. Of course. But two different categories. Can we contend with that? Like your summer of love with a... Something about Janine's vibe always just... It's just something's off about it. It's as if you have normal Janine, and then you know how there's those little cartoon things of the devil on one shoulder and isn't an angel on the other shoulder? Good. For her, it's just two little mini Janines, and they're both sort of like cheering her on because there's a level of pride when she's saying something. 1 + 1 = 4. Yeah, nailed it. Where she's so proud of a ridiculous thing she's saying. And it rubs me the wrong way. But Trump is now trying to call January 6th the Day of Love. Maybe that's why he has the issues he does in his love life over his life, is because he thinks violently attacking police officers is love. Let me know what you thought in the comments.